Manchester United kicked off the Premier League season with a 1-0 win against Fulham at Old Trafford. Now, while overall Manchester United played very well, there was one player that really came on and changed the game in my opinion, and that was new signing Joshua Zirkzee. And not only did he get the winning goal, he also brought something new that United haven't seen in a while for one of their forwards. And in this video, we're going to break down his great performance coming on and what he is going to bring this season for the team. So let's get into it. Before we get into the video, I would ask you to please subscribe to the channel for more tactical insights and analysis on players in the Premier League this season. Now, Joshua Zirkzee is a player that I have definitely liked. I'm an Arsenal fan and have recommended him a couple of times to Arsenal in the past, but when Manchester United made this signing for the price they made it at, I thought it was a very good deal. Now, in this game, Zirkzee did not start and is probably expected to be second fiddle behind Højlund, at least at the start of the season, but with Højlund's injury and this great performance of coming on, I expect him to start for the upcoming games for Manchester United, because I think he really does something different to a lot of their team. Now, straight away, Zirkzee is the facilitator that they need. He's someone that will happily come deeper to progress the ball and happily want the ball and not shy away from it. This was helping Manchester United, especially later in the game, because obviously they wanted to go a bit more, and Fulham were starting to get a little bit more confidence and having gaps in behind them, which is exactly what Manchester United do want to break on teams that go up against them. Now, although he only played 29 minutes and only made 8 out of 9 passes, it's more about the positions that he's picking up that is actually making Manchester United better in attack. Whereas someone like Højlund would be mostly around the box or the edge of the box, waiting to get the ball in a 1v1 situation so he can drive at defenders or be in the box for chances like that. Zirkzee will actually help Manchester United if they are struggling to sometimes provide the ball up. This can see him pick up many different positions. There was positions where he started on the left side and would come into the centre just to tick the ball along, also creating an underlap where people follow him. And there's also times where he'd come on the right side to help the right back and create pressure so Manchester United can eventually shift it into the middle. Now, one of the best things about him is he's one of the first players in this Man United attack that will hold his run and wait for people around him. This is something we spoke about before when he was at Bologna, where he would pick the ball and turn and usually find the wingers around him. And with Manchester United's over-the-top system where they love putting the ball through for their wingers, this actually works quite a lot because the wingers' first incentive is to run forward, and so is Bruno. It was a break that Manchester United had where Rashford does really well to get the ball to Zirkzee, and straight away you can see that Garnacho is running down the wing and Bruno is cutting across and running the other side. This is brilliant. This is exactly what you want, exactly what Zirkzee wants as well, because he can eventually pass the ball in a position to go through. And although this chance didn't end up working out because Bruno shot into the goalkeeper, even when Manchester United slowed down possession and they are closer to the goal, Zirkzee begins to make that run to the left side to not only bring a defender away to give Bruno that space to shoot, but also be an option that he can be in the box. And he's very proactive with his movements and never really stops and ever thinks about things. He's always making the incentive run that he needs to. And there has been comparisons to other players in the Premier League before, people like Firmino and Kai Havertz, people that are very good at picking up space by not really settling in a position. I think he does remind me a lot of them players, not necessarily down to a finishing tee, but down to the fact that he will look for space and ultimately make the players around him better. And I think when he came on, he did. With the goal that he scored as well, he creates most of it. Bruno will pick him out. Bruno's a brilliant passer and will get his passes right more than not. Zirkzee finds this space in the midfield where Fulham's lineup is awfully outmatched on a bit of a counter-attack because they just lost the ball. So there's a lot of space in that function, and with Pereira marking McTominay, he actually can pick up that space there and they're not picking him up. And the first thing he does is what he loves doing. He shifts the ball out wide and gets straight into the box. And something that he's really good at doing is actually timing his run to perfection. He just slightly walks into the box, gets the ball early and gets a brilliant foot on the ball, putting it into the corner. And that is completely timed by Zirkzee. He knows when that pressure is going to be acceptable to actually go for the ball, and he knows that the press by Pereira, who leaves him quite stupidly here, is poor, so he can get in behind and find that gap in between the centre backs and the midfield. Now, this was a brilliant goal that arguably he created or he manufactured and got into the box and finished it. This is something that Manchester United fans have wanted Højlund to do a lot, and he definitely has the potential to do it. Sometimes doesn't have that intelligence to necessarily make the right option in the attacking third, and Zirkzee is not necessarily an out-and-out finisher, but has that intelligence, which will ultimately, I think, improve the team. He's also just very active. Even after this, there's a few minutes to go. Obviously, Fulham want a goal, and he just is making sure that he isn't the furthest one up. What Manchester United did with Zirkzee is actually bring him into the hole where he played closer to Bruno Fernandes, which was to be expected. So Rashford and Garnacho can sit off him and be on the last defender, looking for that that pass through. Not only have they now finally got someone else that can do it, you've still got Bruno who can do them brilliant over the top balls. And when you're going to get knocked down by people like Scott McTominay in midfield, he's so alert to get to the ball in front of the defender and be able to make things tick along with Bruno in the midfield. And if he's not necessarily comfortable with the through ball, he's very good at sustaining possession and keeping the ball to anyone on the team, moving around and making sure that he gives options all the time. And this is something that I think really does help Man United. Something that Fulham struggled with in this game is that they didn't really help each other when they got into forward positions. They all kind of just left each other to do what they wanted, and sometimes you need that support by your teammates to create overmans to get into any position. This is what Zirkzee does. He is that extra man in all these scenarios. He'll come back into left back if he needs to help the defenders, and he will always support the players around him to make sure that they can continue to keep the ball a safe way. There is definitely arguments as well that Zirkzee will come off the bench, I think, for Højlund, because Højlund is more of that natural striker and Zirkzee is someone that is going to create a lot into space, which obviously he is really good at finding, but when you're later on in games, Fulham were kind of going in for it for some reason, so it did operate that space that Zirkzee could definitely control. But I think he could do this job brilliantly anyway. He could really work well in midfield and helping the wingers get better as well, and you saw the amount of chances that they were creating when he came on. And in his selected minutes that he played, he did 3 recoveries, which completely makes sense for the amount of defensive runs that he's doing, the amount of running around he's doing to help the team, and 1 pass into the final third with only 12 touches in the game. I think ultimately he didn't get on the ball a lot, but he is someone that does so many things that you don't see on the ball. Like, he'll make runs for players to give them space to go around each other. And there was a few times that Rashford got in on the left side where Zirkzee would pull players away from into the centre. That would give him that one-on-one space which he really wants. Didn't take it today, but that's what he does want overall. Overall, I think when Manchester United play better teams, there could be an argument to be made that Zirkzee might not be as useful, but if there is space to be found, he will find it. And I think overall it will only make the wingers get better because they'll be able to get into that space and then 1v1s that they want. And he is so good at being that player for Manchester United that could be very smart off the ball, which they haven't really had in the last few years, while also having a brilliant technical ability to be able to put the ball out wide and actually get into the box, but not necessarily required to always be in the box and wait for the ball. He is happily there to support the wingers and give them good chances to score rather than necessarily making them have to keep crossing the ball into him all the time. And he's not the only Manchester United signing to be really good as well. I thought Mazraoui was excellent all game and actually one of the best players on the pitch, being very calm in defence, I thought, and also being very good at tracking his markers in his fullback position when some of the defenders got done in the middle. Let me know what you guys think about this Manchester United performance. Were you impressed? Were you not impressed? And who was your man of the match overall? But more importantly, what do you think about Joshua Zirkzee's debut? Are you excited for the things to come? And do you think he will start the upcoming games with the continued injury of Højlund for the next few weeks? Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to be doing more videos on more teams, so please subscribe for any more of this sort of content, and I'll see you in the next one.